It's the most wonderful time of the year, in which the shitty movies, especially horror movies, are dumped into this month. Is the most wonderful time of the year. Ah man, we're back. January. We're starting out the year 2020 with none other than whatever Hollywood wanted to dump on us for the first week of the year. It's a tradition that we all love to hate. But you know what? I don't blame them because honestly, even I feel lazy during the first day of the year. And so, okay then, what do we got this year? This year we start out with the Grudge. The Grudge 2020 for us, for I want to call it. Ah man, making another American version of one long-running franchise from Japan. It's this wonderful time of the year. And as you can tell, guys, boy, what a movie I just saw. Boy, what a movie I just saw. Honestly, I saw it the day I'm recording it. I just saw it yesterday. And it took me a few days to, you know, put the pieces together in my head to try to explain this movie. But how do we start out? First of all, I know that I am a guy who loves horror. I like Japanese horror too. But ironically enough, I never watched the original Ju-on, The Grudge. Never did. I don't know why. But maybe maybe there is a reason. Because I do remember that I did watch the American version, the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar, many years ago. I think I was 18 when I first saw that movie. Because I do remember that I was expecting something like The Ring, but no, I do remember that I wasn't scared, I was forgettable, and even barely I remember what it is. Mostly because I haven't got the interest on the Grudge franchise, not even the Japanese version. And funny enough is that this one apparently tries to rival The Ring so much that years ago they did have The Ring versus The Grudge. So I just went there with only kind of like the basic knowledge of The Grudge, which the best I could say is that the movie is basically about the bad energies or bad things that happen in the house stays on the house, and it turns into, you know, the ghost of those bad people in penance because of some tragedy, and then it curses, you know, the guys who inhabited it. Practically, it's kind of making an exaggerated version to the superstition that says that when you buy a house from a family, you buy a house in which a murder happened, then you're gonna have that bad omen. Kind of like the Amityville house. Now, that's pretty much the best I can describe The Grudge in my own words. But you know what? Even knowing this, that doesn't save the movie. The Grudge 2020, I will say that we just started out this year. We just started out the decade, or the end of the decade, whatever you want to call it. And I just saw probably the most inconsistent film I have ever seen in a long time. man, guys, how can I explain this movie? Basically, it wants to treat itself like a horror murder mystery that also has some paranormal stuff. But the best way I can describe this movie is that imagine if this movie always intended to be an anthology. They wanted to go kind of like a VHS route. But somehow they say, no, let's not make an anthology. Let's make a complete movie, and the other we're gonna choose the cheesiest stock premise as a wraparound segment, and the rest of it, well, let's just mishmash it into it so we can make kind of like a story. And boy, this movie is not only inconsistent, it's boring, it's not scary, and is a waste of potential for a lot of talented actors that is there. In a way, I wanted this movie to be stupidly bad, kind of like the Bye Bye Man. But I only got little of it. So I'm beginning to conflict myself saying that, did I like this movie because of how bad it is? Or it was disappointing? I had this mixed feelings. But in order to do that, I have to tell you, I'm gonna tell you bits and pieces about the movie, kind of spoiling it. So, but you know what? Probably not many people are gonna care if I had to say it. So where do we start? Can you believe that this is another one of those movies in which it tries to appropriate a franchise from another country and move it to the States? In this case, like the Grudge, because the movie starts out in Tokyo, Japan, and there's a woman just comes out of, apparently I think it is the house from the Grudge. She sees the Grudge monster, the Grudge ghost, and then she moves to the United States. She goes to the United States to see her family, and apparently she brings the ghost there. And from that point, a series of tragedy / murders happen in that same house, in which all of this is investigated by this policewoman played by Tara Westwood. And as the more she goes into it, including entering the house, the more she begins to become insane. That is the easiest way I could describe the premise of this movie. But the way it is executed is a hodgepodge of a mess. Because, hear me out, and I hope you pay attention how this movie is structured. And I'll give it my best. First off, we got an intro, like I told you. Woman from Japan goes back to her house in the United States. Then we cut back. Oh, by the way, this is kind of like a period piece. So we cut back in the early 2000s. Kind of like I think it was 2006 or no 2008. Well, I don't remember exactly. And then we got our main character, the police woman, her son, and her police. How can I say her superior? They find a woman who died on a car crash and happened found in the forest for months. She goes into the house, and then after that she decides to put the pieces together about this. And then we go back in time, apparently in 2006, in which we have this real estate loving couple. The husband played by what was the name of this? John Cho. And then it continues on. Then somehow, without warning, it jumps back again to the policewoman, and then a few minutes later, we jump out into another story in which it's about another people who were in the house, which is about this. Apparently, I don't know if it's just kind of like a psychic woman or social worker who goes into the other people who also live in the house, which is this guy who for me kind of looks like Uncle Remus, who is taking care of his wife, who is this demented woman played by Lin Shaye. I think it was Lin Shaye. On a sensor, yes, it is. Yes, it is Lin Shaye. Who she kind of who began, kind of acts demented, that she has kind of like an imaginary friend, and weird things happen during the house. So we get these two stories. With the wraparound center with the policewoman. Again, I'm forgetting the name. Tara Westwood. You might be thinking, what about the one that came back from Japan? Oh, don't worry. She's part of it. She's basically kind of like the reason of it, but we will never see what happened to them in visual narrative until the end of the movie. And so much that while cutting away doing these things, we also get another story, which is kind of like the previous partner of the superior policeman, who gets also too involved into the grudge, into this house, and he also becomes insane, so much that he even shoots his face off. Don't worry, he survived with a hole in his face, but he's mentally insane. And you know what? All could have been forgiven if the execution could not make his mind that in every single time when we jump into one story, it kind of cuts itself in the middle of it, and then continue on with the wraparound just to go with another story, and then after we see that wraparound story, it goes to show us the second half of that other story. And so it was like, movie, do you have ADD? Focus! Finish a story before you go with another one! I know that there are movies that they do play out the chronological orders, of events, but let me tell you, at least I know that good movies that kind of shift chronological orders, they do have a little bit of a warning or a sign that it'll let you show that, okay, we're gonna jump from that time period to the other, but this movie thinks that it's so clever that we don't even notice. For example, I don't remember that some of those time periods when they start, even the beginning, it has this big giant letters that is say, for example, Tokyo, Japan, or 2006. They show it's kind of like this. They kind of think that they are, that Captain America movie. I think it was Civil War, the one that do that. But they just do it this, man. So let me go around, these kind of group of characters, of course, trying my best. Take, for example, the policewoman who, she has a child. The child, of course, is typical bad acting, Hollywood cute, the thing which the kids always talk like, Mommy, I'm scared. I'm so precious. They even kind of make a like a Chepnok Gung moment in which she's like, okay, honey, when you're scared, close your eyes and count to 5. Yeah, remember that. Oh, but also one thing that I want to tell you is that the biggest theme that this movie has with each character is that everyone has some kind of something that makes them feel, bad, or feel kind of like a grudge against a lost loved one or something like that. Kind of like the thematic of the movie. That's kind of like a bad energy. In this case, the policewoman and the child are dealing the grief of losing her husband from a cancer, which I don't know how it deals with the movie. I'm sorry if I don't understand 100%, the Grudge lore. And well, when she investigates, she enters the forbidden house and she finds out, the demented woman from one of the stories in which she finds her that she was chopping her fingers, and they sent her, to the hospital. And because she entered the house, entering the cursed house means that you're cursed. And then the police woman thinks that she begins to see visions of, of dead people. And of course, while she sees a story, she sees, for example, the John Show realty family, in which they are dealing with. They're dealing that John Cho's wife is gonna have a baby, but unfortunately the baby is gonna have a 95% chance that it's not gonna come out healthy. So they have kind of like this problem, and of course they go to the guy goes to see the people who were owning. I think it was owning the cursed house. That's pretty much I could understand about this movie. And then of course we got the other story, which is we have again this woman seeing this old couple with the demented woman, again the lean shaved woman. Oh man, and for me it's hard to describe this movie. If someone who could see the movie could understand what I'm going. But basically, it's a total mess. It's a total mess of a movie that I didn't even go with it. So I think I'll time to talk to you some plot elements that I could describe. For a horror movie, again, it's not scary. This movie is overly reliant on trying some jump scares in which sometimes it goes quiet and the guy's like, and then boom, jump scare, like boo. Or sometimes they put a creepy ghost or creepy shadow there, and they don't do nothing. It was again one of those they would say that the presence is there, or but they do it so lame in a way. I mean, for example, I will say, one of the biggest things that this movie wanted to say that is scary is also on the poster, where we see the John Show, showering, on the, showering, and then the Grudge hand kind of grabs his head or something like that. You know what, guys? Now that I talk about this, I do want to tell you that this is probably one of the worst shots for a poster I have ever seen, because when because the shot is so up front and the hand is so up front that I don't remember that when I was watching the poster I was like, what the hell is this? I had to go closer, watch it, and it was like, oh, it's a hand on top of a dude's head. That is terrible composition. Here's the thing, guys, that they taught me in art. When you're making, usually when you're making kind of like a good pose, or you want to show something, one of the things that you should note, that you should put in mind, is that if you cover that image in a silhouette, and if that all black screen, it gives you the idea of what is going on or what are you seeing, then you'll say, oh, then it's good. I can see clearly what it is. But not in this case. It doesn't have enough negative spaces to make me see that, oh, it's kind of like a dude with it, with some creepy hand on it. So points less, even for the poster. Man. Also, another thing that I want to tell you is that You know that usually even at sight, the Japanese ghosts, they no matter if it's a bad CGI or good makeup or good CGI, whatever they do, usually the Japanese monster, they tend to look really, really creepy because of how unnatural they look. Even the pale skin is unnervingly unnatural. But this movie, it goes lazy because the slight moments in which we see the ghosts, there's no pale skin or the very lack of it. They mostly look like zombies. I don't buy them as ghosts. I only buy them as zombies. And it's a huge, huge difference from the ghost from the Grudge. I think it's Kayako's the name. And it doesn't impress me. So what I'm telling you is that basically they only took the couple of elements that tries to make it, feel like the Grudge. The woman with very, very slick hair, the iconic sound of the Grudge. That is like... I'm not gonna lie that the sound is kind of scary, but I think that the Grudge is pretty iconic because it also has a ghost child and a ghost cat. But that's just me. I'm just saying that the Grudge 2020 feels that the Grudge mostly in name more than anything else. Yeah, again, like I think I said that they translated, they got a Japanese ghost and they translated to America. Well, apparently now every ghost is going to America. They did it to La Llorona, so why not? Ah, man. But little I will say that all these things comes up also as, in ways, but not all time, in ways it comes up somehow as unintentionally funny. Here's some moments that I kind of felt, kind of like giggling during the whole movie. Although it kept me interested mostly during the last half of the movie where a lot of things begin to finally kick in. First of all, I kind of laugh, at the beginning of the movie during the scene in which our main character, policewoman, is with her child. You saying that when you're afraid, you must count to 5, and the kid is like, "Will you be? Are we safe?" And she's like, Yeah, son, because I'm a policewoman. And I just gave a smile on my face because I was thinking that, oh kid, you should see Walter from Spice in Disguise. I mean, he also had a policewoman, and look how it ended. No, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm sorry if I sound mean, but I don't know. After watching Spice in Disguise, when she said, "I'm a policewoman," nothing bad is gonna happen. It came to my mind this. Here's another thing that kind of made me laugh almost during the whole movie, is that the police department. That usually the building has the number of the building or something like that. Guess what number this building is? The police department building is the numbers are 999. And I don't know if this was unintentional, but I think that the building was supposed to be called 666. But first of all, I think they didn't want to go overboard with their R rating, or they think that they were clever enough that people might not notice. I was actually thinking that this might come out somehow, but no, it doesn't. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me that I noticed that a police department that says 999 wanted to wanted to say that yeah, we're a horror movie, so we're gonna have demonic numbers. But nope, I don't think we're clever. I don't think we're clever enough. So there you go. Another moment that also kind of make me a little bit irritated is also the stupidity of people. Let's say, I mean, there is some apart from the scary woman, there's also this scary child in which John Cho kind of sees her and he's like, hey, hi, where are your parents? And she stays quiet and then she begins to bleed heavily. And he's like, oh, nosebleed. And then the next scene, he's inside the house and he's like, where are your parents? For number one, when a child nosebleeds, like she's dripping blood, like no tomorrow, this is not kind of like a child typical nosebleed. You might think that there's something even more wrong with that. And you let yourself inside a house knowing that probably she's alone in the house, and he stupidly, of course, stays until the parents just comes by. This is a stupid decision because no one should let a stranger pass. I know she's a ghost, but anyway. Another thing that kind of made me laugh is during the loving couple moment in which the woman who stays there, she begins to feel those visions, and then she gets kind of like a jump scare moment in which she sees the demented I can't the demented Lin Shay. The demented Lin Shay being haunted by the ghost. Although one of the moments that got me laughing is that there was kind of like a continuity error in which before the scare happened, the old man was downstairs sleeping, and then when the scare happened, in which the scare happened on the upstairs room. The woman's like, calm down, and then immediately the husband appeared and say, oh, what's going on? It's almost like he just instantly appears on scene. And when she finally confronts saying that there's bad apparitions in this house, the guy's like, yeah, but you know what? I think this means something. This is something that traverses time and space, and something bullshit he was saying, and I was kind of like, what the freak are you talking about, Uncle Remus? So much that even the old lady like, fuck that shit, I'm leaving this place. And then of course everything ends up with the demented woman killing her husband, and the ghost scaring the lady in the car to make her have an accident where it pinpoints the whole the start of the movie. But that's not only the stupidest moment. Probably the stupidest moment that this movie happened is that, remember, that demented woman survived, being chopped off her fingers for God knows how many days, and when our main character finally apprehends her, she's confined in a hospital. She goes around on the hospital in that scene with a wheelchair, and she just moves around, and you might be thinking, oh, maybe it's an old guy, wandering around. She escaped from her room, but no, the nurse is like, hey miss, how's it going? Having a nice walk? Nurse! This lady killed off her husband. They found her chopping her fingers like carrots, and nobody that demented should be left alone. Worst hospital ever. So much that it ends up with her going alone to the stairs, and then she jumps to her death like. like she's freaking, she's battling impersonating Superman. And then the nurse is like, oh my god! Oh my god, indeed! No hospital should let a demented woman, you know, walking around alone. And finally, I'll say this, that the climax. Yeah, I'll talk about the climax now. So finally the climax happened, in which despite all the warnings of, you know, her superior, our main character, she's like, no, I must end all this. I must end it all. I stepped in that house, so the only way to end it is to burn the house. Looks like this woman never seen The Conjuring, in which The Conjuring, well, I have my issues. It does give out a good explanation that normally it's not the house, it's normally not exactly the house, the thing that haunts, you know, somewhere or something. Usually cursed items or cursed feelings, they translate from other houses. And she's like, I'm gonna protect my child and all this stuff. Okay, so you decide to protect your child because the thing is haunting you, and you're gonna feel like that you're gonna go insane enough to, you know, kill your own child. Because that's what basically the Grudge. Now that I remember, the Grudge ghosts usually possess kind of like the head of the family, and then it goes to kind of like a killing spree. I mean, that's what they did. You know, they show us, you know, on the other families, the other people. You know, one gets possessed and it murders others. And so she's like, I'm gonna protect my child. I'm gonna destroy the house. And what she does is that she goes to the house with her child, and then when she reaches the house, she's like, okay son, whatever you do, don't open the door to anyone. She does it with the car window half open, and she's like, don't move, don't stay. Okay, then what was the point of bringing your child? Only to have, you know, this ridiculous climax in which she goes in during the whole house, you know, dousing kerosene everywhere, while she gets visions of the family that we were supposed to see the story. You know, how the woman that came from Japan and murdered her entire family. This is how we. This is the story that we had to see from the beginning, but no, you decided to play clever with this hodgepodge of chronological narrative. And then of course she almost gets tricked by the ghost, who disguises itself like the ghost, and she's like, okay, so what do you do when you're afraid? And the ghost is like, I don't know. Okay, you're not my son. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She lights up the you know, the whole house, only to after that finally get out of the house and hug her son, who somehow gets off the car. And in my mind, actually, I was more concerned of the neighbors, because the movie did show that there are people living nearby the house, and this is something that kind of bothered me in these kind of movies, in which if you have a haunted house, why there's still people living around it? Wouldn't this feel too kind of sketchy? So that's the thing. And yeah, the movie kind of feels like it has its happy ending, but no, apparently the ghost, they say, okay, the house is destroyed, I'm moving to her house. So she tricks her main character again, pretending that she's the child, and they kind of drag her by the hair, and then the movie cuts. It cuts into this panoramic shot, a steady shot of the house, all in complete silence. And then it ends. It ends, and the credits roll, and the people are like, what? I didn't stay there because I was thinking that, okay, movie, you want to play clever? I dare you. I dare you. I was waiting there for things to happen. And guess what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, movie, you wanted to play clever, but I was actually begging for, you know, to have this woman fly out the window to bring me one lame jump scare, but no, you didn't. That shows how pretentious this film is. But I think I'm finally talk about this movie enough. But do I recommend The Grudge 2020? Not by a long shot. I would say you kind of are a commenter on these movies. No, I don't recommend you to watch it. If you're into bad movies that are so entertainment, I could give you kind of like a mild recommendation. You can tolerate these kind of pretentious bad horror movies. I mean, I always, like I said, I do enjoy these kind of movies sometimes because the first movie of January always comes up with a kind of like a surprise. Is really delightful to see. It's the best bottom of the barrel of filmmaking when you kind of do it incompetently. I don't know how they do it. And it mesmerizes me. But at this point, still, it makes me very glad that we do keep making bad horror movies that give me some joy, at least to start out this year. Yep, this is gonna be quite a... Huh? What was that?